yet, so we're going to do that today, okay, and in the next couple of days. They're actually going to start on Tuesday, so you've got some time to think about it, and the subject matter is hopefully one of your favorite because it's all about you. It's about your name, okay? Specifically your first name. It's a little too much to handle in 2 to 3 minutes to get into your whole name, so it's just going to be about your first name, okay? So, if you look at this rubric, this is how really all the rubrics in here look, even for writing. They're just tweaked a little bit, whether it's for writing or for speaking. But starting out on the ideas and content column up on the top, the way to read this is you want to shoot for the 4 column because that's hitting the bar and hitting the mark on everything that I'm looking for. The lower columns, it's important to look at that just to make sure that you avoid doing anything that might be in those lower columns, but really what you're shooting to do is the top 4 columns. Make sense? Okay? So, ideas and content. You're going to include a list of your names, all the names that people call you. Nicknames, pet names, right? Various variations of your name. All right? Your favorite one of all of those. Your least favorite one of all of those. Now be careful, because if you give us the least favorite, somebody might be vindictive and decide they're going to call you that forever. But we're probably more mature than that, right? We're not going to use that against anybody. So we'll reveal our least favorite. The meaning of your name. How many of you know already what your name actually means? Oh, about half of you. Okay? So you've been walking around 15, 16 years and you don't even know what your name means? Time to figure it out. Right? So you have to go on a baby name website, figure out what your name means. Maybe your parents had that intention when they picked that name, or maybe they just liked how it sounded, or maybe it was a family name. So you need to have a little conversation with your parents. Why'd you pick my name? Right? They had a choice to make. You have to walk around with it for potentially 100 years. Hopefully they put some good thought into why they picked what they picked for you. All right, Shakespeare. He's thrown in there a little. It sounds a little random, but last year you read, maybe even watched Romeo and Juliet. Okay, and we've got that wonderful scene with Leonardo DiCaprio down in the pool and Juliet up on the balcony, right? And she's doing the whole "dang it, why do you have to be a Montague" thing, right? A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. She wishes that he could be something other than a Montague, because if he were anything other than a Montague, then she could be with him. Well, my question for you is, does it matter? Does your name actually matter? Does it define you? Or would you be the exact same person that you are if you had a completely different name? Okay, so does it define you, or would you be something different with a different name? Has it shaped you into who you are in any way? Change it, and you have to change it. I don't want to hear anybody tell me I love my name, I'm going to keep it. This is a hypothetical change it. Now, you can decide whether you're going to change it for witness protection program, or if you're going to change it because you're working at a call center answering phones and there's already a Kate that works there, and so you can't be Kate because there's already a Kate. When they say I called and I talked to Kate, they're not going to know which Kate you talked to, so you have to pick a new name. Or maybe it's your Panera name, or maybe it's your Starbucks name that you have a hard to pronounce name, so you always give them Mary or something like that, so they won't screw it up. You have to change it, at least for the speech, even though you love your name. Okay? Does the name suit you? Did your parents get it right? They knew you for all of maybe, 10 minutes? If that, before they slapped you with the name that you're going to have for the next 100 years? Did they guess right? Did they pick it right? And then opposite gender, you have to talk to your parents about this one. What if you had been born the opposite gender? What would your name be? Maybe you know already, maybe you don't. But it's always an interesting conversation to figure out what you would have been. A lot of times parents knew what you were going to be, and so they didn't bother with the other gender name. But sometimes they had one up their sleeve anyway, just in case. All right, so that's what we're looking for. That's the whole speech. And I'm going to model one for you in just a minute so you can kind of get an idea of how long these take and how long you have to talk about each thing. But the whole speech is only 2 to 3 minutes. It's not super long. All right, so organization, a strong introduction. We want some kind of a greeting to let us know that it's starting. Maybe there's a song that has your name in it. You want to start by playing the song to get our attention. Or if your name is famous like mine is with Ellen DeGeneres, I could start with the theme from the Ellen Show. I don't with mine. That was a good idea. something along those lines. Or maybe you just have kind of a little funny story that you want to tell us to pull us in. Some kind of way to pull us in. The body is, you're just going through your list of stuff, okay? And then your conclusion, make sure you give us something other than that's it. Or worse yet, we don't even know you ended, and so we awkwardly start to clap as you walk away. There's got to be some kind of winding it up. Thanks for listening. I hope you learned a little bit about my name. Something like that. All right. Your voice. We have strong creativity and interesting ideas. Now, you don't really have any choice over the creativity of your name and what it means, but how you present it and the enthusiasm that you have to share maybe a story about how you got a nickname, that's all up to you. The word choice, you explain your nicknames properly. You don't just throw random things up there that we don't understand. Inside jokes that you don't want to explain. Try to keep it something that we can wrap our heads around. Sentence fluency, that's the best when we forget that you're giving a speech. It enhances your speaking. We're just totally drawn into what you're saying. We forget that it's even a speech. Conventions, we want to be able to hear you. If we can't hear you, I'm going to stop you because there's no point. It's just a waste of everybody's time if we can't hear you. So I'm going to say, hey, you got to pump it up. Especially because I'm between, the fan is between you and me, and so I have the worst hearing of all because I'm in the back of the room and it's hard to hear, so you got to pump it up. All right, backside. Our delivery for this type of speech is what we call extemporaneous. It's a very big, long word for, it's not winging it because you've practiced and you know what you're going to say, but that's the type of delivery that I'm giving right now. I've got a guideline that I'm looking at, but when I present this to fourth block today, it's not going to come out word for word exactly the way I'm saying it right now. I don't have anything memorized. You would be able to tell if I had something memorized, right? I mean, you can just tell when somebody's speaking if it's coming out exactly the same way that they've always said it. So it's not like that. I've got a guideline to help me remember what to say, but it's not memorized. Okay, that's what we call extemporaneous. It's kind of in between the memorized and the winging. Okay, you've got a guideline to help you, but it's a natural voice. Okay, think about how you tell your friends a story in the hallway. You got something important you want to tell them about. You only have a minute or two in between classes. You're going to tell this friend, and then when you get to that other class, you're going to tell the other friend too. The stories are going to come out relatively the same, right? It's going to take about the same amount of time to tell each person, but they're not going to be memorized. They're not going to be exactly word for word both times. Make sense? Okay? All right, 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll have some timer in the audience to give you some signals so you don't have to just completely guess how much time has passed. Your visual aid is a PowerPoint or a Prezi. Prezis make us kind of dizzy, so be careful with your transitions on that. If you're, don't use unnecessary bells and whistles on your Prezis if you use Prezi. And when you do a visual, it should be visual. We don't want to read word for word what you're going to say because we're too lazy, and visuals should be stimulating to the eye, not work for the eye. We want pictures, okay? We like colors. We like things that are going to draw us in, but not make more work for us. Okay, so picture, caption, call it done. Don't put in a whole lot of bullets with a lot of words on them. Your delivery skills. We are going to dress up for our speeches, okay? And I'll talk to you more about that why in just a minute when we go through our how do we prepare for a speech business. But basically, when you give a speech, you got to bring your A game. And if you're feeling good about yourself, it's going to come through to your audience. If it looks like you just rolled out of bed and you forgot you had a speech this morning, you kind of already have one strike against you in terms of your confidence. Okay, but if you're feeling like, hey, I got up 5 minutes earlier, I did a little something special with my hair today, thought about whether or not my clothes matched, whatever it might be that makes you feel good, that can make a difference in how you present yourself. Now for this one, because it's about your name, as long as it makes sense with your speech, you could wear something that has your name on it. So if you've got like a warm-up jacket or something that has your name on it, that would make sense for this speech. But otherwise, if you don't have something like that and you just want to dress up, then we dress up. Okay? Good? Good eye contact. Things that fall in the bottom category, reading directly off the smartboard, staring at the smartboard, that's going to affect your contact, your connection with your audience. Question?
Define dress up.
Dressed up. Define dressed up. No jeans and no distracting logos. Okay? So if it's unrelated, like our our Brookfield Central shirt. If we're not talking about Brookfield Central for the day, then we wouldn't wear that on speech day. Now, I have had boys that have kept the collared polo shirt in their locker for the whole semester, and every time they have a speech, they just pull it out. Sometimes they even share it. And I don't care. If that's enough to make you feel good, go for it. Girls, you don't have to wear a dress. Okay, these same rules apply for girls and for boys. If you want to wear it, it just can't be a distracting logo and no jeans. Yeah.
What if it's like a costume that we're not invited?
Great. If it's a costume that has something to do with your speech, more power to you. I had somebody give a speech on sharks in public speaking last term. She came in dressed in a shark suit. And that was fun. So, I had somebody do a pirate speech one time, came in dressed like a pirate. Yeah, if the spirit moves you, go for it. All right? Other things that fall in that category, make sure we're not chewing gum. If I see you chewing gum, I'll try to remind you. I don't care if you chew gum in class, but don't chew it when you're giving a speech. Facing the smartboard, touching your hair. If you have a nervous habit of touching your hair when you speak, pull it back. I've got hair ties if you forget to bring one. Pull it off your face so that you are not tempted to do the nervous pull at your hair kind of thing. And that's kind of it. Any questions? Ready to see one? Sample one? Okay, so I gotta switch this here.
Yeah, Super Bowl, right?
I've never actually seen it yet.
Have you watched the video?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a halftime show.
I don't think I watched it. I don't really know.
Oh,
Okay,
by
I
the
don't know
way,
what you're talking about.
my smartboard is super temperamental, and for some reason it does the little flashy light thing pretty much every day when we try to use it. But if you pull this apart and leave it apart for a few seconds so it forgets it's being ugly, usually it turns green then, and then it'll work. Okay? So if you get up there and nobody's tested it yet for the day and it's stinky like that, don't panic. We'll stop the time. We'll let you fix it. It's not a big deal. All right, so we need our timing tools. Do you start the time when the person starts speaking or when they get up there? Oh, we start the time when we say ready, go, and then they just start speaking. Yeah, it's not that precise of a sign. Our one of our tools disappeared. I forgot last term, so we'll use the hat. Okay. Anybody want to volunteer to be the timer? Somebody have a phone that has a stopwatch on it?
I got it.
All right. Okay. It's usually good if it's somebody kind of in the line of view here. Okay. So when it's 2 to 3 minutes, right? And this doesn't have to be a big, obvious, everybody sees it. It just has to be the speaker that sees this, okay? So when I hit 2 minutes, just kind of lift the hat until you see it, make eye contact with me so that you know. And then when it's 3 minutes total. So I want my wind-up signal at 2:45. So I know I need to finish up. 2:45, just a little shake of the Wienermobile. Okay, that's it. We're not going to like wave it around. We're not going to throw it at them. Okay, that's all. Okay, but that'll be enough to give you a signal so you know to kind of wind it up. All right, let's see if that responds now. Okay, are we ready? Timer ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so my name is Ellen, and my name means torch or bright light, and a quote that I think reflects me says, work while you have the light. You are responsible for the talent that has been entrusted to you, which to me speaks to me because as a teacher I feel like that's very true, and so I think my parents kind of got it right with this one, because it is my job to help you pull your talents out and be the light for you. Oh, I guess I have to put it aside. All right, if I were to change my name, I would change it to Bailey, because George Bailey is my favorite character from my favorite movie. So I just think that he is a really good role model and somebody that I would admire, and I think that's a great name. The many sides of me. The students usually call me Mrs. L. These are some of my class officers from a few years ago. When they grow up, I just become L, which is super convenient because that's actually my first name. So there isn't any awkward, do I call you by your first name now kind of thing. They just drop the misses and then I'm L, and then that works. As the youngest of 5 girls, my nickname was Rooker, and I'm not really sure why, except that I think it probably had something was kind of a boyish nickname that my dad had for me. And as far as the opposite gender is concerned, as the youngest of 5 girls, my parents had completely given up on the idea of having a boy. So they didn't have a boy named for me, but my sisters range in alphabetical order starting with Anne. And so my mom thought it would be a good idea to name me Zelda, because that would be the end of the alphabet and then she would be done having children. But fortunately my dad talked her out of that, actually in the delivery room, and there weren't any more, but at least I'm not Zelda. Most often I'm called Mom because I have 4 kids, so that's my most common nickname, I guess. My least favorite is Smelly Ellie, because that's just gross. And the only person who calls me that is my cousin Lil, and I call her Stinky, and I think I'm the only person who calls her that. But I'm okay with it from her, but I don't really like it from anybody else. That's gross. My favorite is just Elle. Excuse me. It's just simple, it works. It's my first name, my last name. It just works. And then with Shakespeare, I would say I tend to disagree. I don't think that a name really, I tend to agree that I don't think a name really does define you in any way, unless it's something really, really horrible, like corpse flower. I think if somebody gave you a bouquet of corpse flowers, that would send a message no matter what. I think that would just be awful. I don't think I would feel comfortable being Adolf Hitler. So most of the time I'd say it doesn't matter, but on a few rare occasions I think maybe it's going too far. So that's all about my name. I hope you learned a little bit about me today, and thank you for listening. Good? How are we doing?
17 seconds over.
17 seconds over, okay. Had a little coffee fit in the middle. You get a 10-second window on either end, so don't worry too much about it. There's not a major panic if you're going a little bit over. We don't want you to go minutes over, but there is a window on both sides. Okay? You get a pretty good idea of it? Feel comfortable? Yes? Okay. We are 8:33. It's Thursday, so our stretch and wiggle comes early. So let's stretch and wiggle till 8:38, and then we're going to start talking about what makes good speech when you come back. Okay?